Okay, let's have a heart-to-heart today. I have a million emails from across the country and even different parts of the world, and they all pretty much read kind of like the same. I have a man that's abusive, I have a man that's cheating, but I love him, and I don't know how to leave. Let's talk about that today and why you're stuck in this toxic rut. You know that I'm antiquated because I believe a man is supposed to take care of his woman. I don't care how much money your woman make. A man is supposed to have his mindset on taking care of his woman.
Talk. I mean, this may be a bit crude, but I mean, I don't know no other way to say it. I want to talk about booty calls.
Hey, this is R.C. Blakes, and I am so excited to be able to talk to you again today. And I want to jump right in. And today is more or less, it's just me kind of speaking from my heart. I jotted some things down on a pad as I was pondering some of the emails that I've been reading. And in most cases, it's a woman that's whose life is clearly tied up by in the grips of a narcissistic man. And she doesn't know she doesn't understand the soul tie that has been formed, and she doesn't know why she's constantly being buried, not seemingly, but she's going deeper and deeper and deeper into this oppression, and she doesn't have a clue why. And then eventually she gets so far that she loses herself, and she can't seem to figure out how to even come back to a place of health and balance. This happens in relationships every day. And let me let you in on something. If you're writing, you need to write this down. Some men, not all, some men create soul ties intentionally. In fact, a lot of men create soul ties intentionally. And what is a soul tie? A soul tie is a situation where a person gets so embedded in your heart, in your emotions. They tie you up sexually, they tie you up emotionally, financially, spiritually, to the point that when the relationship proceeds to a place that this person is blatantly abusing you, your soul is so tied up into this individual. Your mind, your will, and your emotions are so webbed up by this individual, you don't know how to go free, even when your better judgment is saying it's time to go. That's a soul tie. That's a soul tie. When the relationship pushes you outside of the parameters of your own personal values and principles, and you find yourself performing for this person to maintain some semblance of a relationship that was never really a relationship, it was just an exchange where the person is using you as a supply for whatever they needed you for, be it sex, be it money, opportunity. And even when you know this, your soul is so tied up that you don't know how to let this poisonous individual go. So it behooves all of us to do what I call, we have this term that we use, falling in love. I don't believe that people should fall in love because fall indicates a mistake that is subject to end in injury or at worst, even death. And so I don't believe in falling in love. I think that we should walk in love with our eyes wide open. And so when you're interested in a person, this is just for those of you that are in the dating process who've not come to this place that I'm describing now. when you're dating a person, you should test that individual. And the Bible does say in 1 John 4:1 that we should try the spirits. Don't believe every spirit, but try the spirits to see if they are really honest, true, righteous, or of God or not. In other words, nobody's in the world of dating, everybody's guilty until proven innocent. Never go into a situation blindly and assuming that a person is what they present, because most people are not what they present. So there's a testing that we should do, especially since we are living in a world and in an age where there is an explosion of narcissists that have been developed. There's an explosion of narcissists, female and male, but there's an explosion. And the Bible does tell us that in the last days that there would be an explosion of people who are lovers of themselves. And so some of the practical things that I've jotted down here, and again, this is on my little legal pad here. We must test a person, and I'm trying to read my own writing, so bear with me. We must test a person before we open our hearts and before we give our bodies to them. We must test a person before we open our hearts and before we give our bodies to them. Now watch this. There are a lot of you who are guilty of having sex with people that you don't even know. And the world tells you, oh man, that's cool. You're liberated. This is a new day. And women buy into this stuff because the world, after all, is pretty much dictated when you look at corporate America from corporate America to government to religion even. The world is pretty much dictated by the concepts of men. And so men kind of put out there in the air whatever they want the masses to believe, from religion to politics to corporate America, to what you consume by way of television, radio, commercials. And so the world has fed you this line that you ought to be sexually expressive and free, because the world wants to be able to freely use the body of a woman without having covenant or without having to pay any real price relative to developing a real solid and sincere relationship. Now, I know some of you are going to argue with that. It's unfortunate, but I call it female slave conditioning, where the world takes and the world conditions you to behave exactly as it wants you to behave so it can use you and ultimately abuse you. Now, here's some of the tests that we must employ, especially when you're dealing with a narcissistic population. Test to see if the person can go out of their way to accommodate your needs. See, it's fine as long as, everybody's flattering and it's all batting of the eyes and it's all cute and it's all dinner and wine and it's all sex. But the moment it turns in a direction where you need this person to go out of their way to accommodate you, you'll discover that they probably lack the capacity to do so, or they may do so grudgingly. And that won't happen too often before they rid themselves of you. Now, here's the unfortunate truth again, and this is just coming raw. This is just going to be real today. I'm not trying to be politically correct. There are too many times as women that a man has gotten you into the bed and has developed a full-blown sexual relationship with you, and you've never tested his ability or his willingness to make you the priority. Now, that's sad. That you will allow an exchange, a situationship to go so far as to become sexual before you had the consciousness to test this man to see if this man has the ability to step outside of his needs and his desires to accommodate yours. The reason you're having sex is not necessarily because your values are such. It's that you want to please this man. Because women are engineered, women are raised to be empaths. Whereas when you look at the way we raise our boys in America, boys are pretty much raised to be narcissists. And I won't get into all of that. But in most settings, boys are raised to be narcissists and women are raised to be empaths. Now, so number one, you need to test to see if this person can go out of their way to accommodate your needs. And I'm going to get into how a narcissist man gains control over a woman's mind. But I want to lay this foundation because we have to test these relationships. Number two, can this person pay attention when the conversation is not about them? A narcissistic person that does not have the capacity to accommodate you emotionally will not be able to pay much attention to a conversation that is not about them. It'll go a few minutes, maybe even a few seconds in a direction where it's about you. But if you look at even their body language, they look uninterested. If you follow their eyes, they're looking in the ceiling, they're counting the lights, they're looking around at the people, and every now and then they'll check back in with you, oh yeah, yeah. They're not really listening to you because they're not interested in you, because they're only interested in themselves. If you do these things, you can pretty much kind of read a person, and I'm no therapist. I must always say that. I'm no therapist. I'm no counselor. I'm no psychologist. I'm a man. I'm a preacher, and I observe life. But if you do these things, you can pretty much discern from the first date that you're not really dealing with a person that has the emotional capacity to accommodate you. The third thing I will say is that test the relationship by checking this out. Will this person pursue you when you don't accommodate their sexual or financial desires? Sometimes this person stays on your radar because you're accommodating them sexually, or you're accommodating them financially, or whatever other need they have, whatever other supply you're bringing to the table. When you cut back, when you pull back on the thing that you're supplying for them, will this person continue to pursue you? For a lot of you, these so-called love affairs that you think you have, again, this is not one of those nice messages where I'm trying to talk nice. This is pretty much me talking like I would talk to my daughters. A lot of you, to be quite honest with you, if you shut down on the sex for a week, this person that you think you're so in love with is going to get ghosted. They're going to be out of here. The only reason they're hanging around is because they enjoy the sex they have with you. And if you woke up today and if you called them today and said to them, listen, this goes against my values, my principles. I'm not having sex until I'm married. Whoosh, he's out of here like Babe Ruth. Number 4, can this person coexist with the other important people in your life? See, now that's a mistake you make. Okay, this is a mistake you make when you develop these bogus relationships. The first thing this person does is you're not really paying attention because you're caught up in the emotion of it. But the first thing this person does is they orchestrate a relationship that steers them away from people like your mother, your father, your brothers, your best friends, your pastors, your leaders. They always have a reason why they can't do this and why they can't go there. And yet you continue to go deeper and deeper and deeper with this person without bringing this person into your tribe, the tribe of people that are going to hold you down every time your heart gets broken, every time you get taken for money by another man, every time somebody abuses you sexually and breaks your heart. These are the same people that are always there. But yet every time you get into these situations, you let these people talk you out of bringing them into your tribe so as to see what the people who really love you think about this person. And one of the greatest tests is to bring a person, a would-be relationship, Bring that person into the middle of your tribe to see if they can coexist with your people or not. If a person cannot coexist with the people that have birthed you, raised you, protected you, and are always holding you down, it's probably a great indication this person does not really fit into your life. And that's not to say that a person has to, pass all of the approval of your people, because sometimes, your people can be overbearing. But my point is, if a person is not mature enough and well adjusted enough to be able to coexist with your people, doesn't mean that they got to love and have a love affair with all of your people necessarily, but they have to be mature enough and healthy enough and love you enough to be able to coexist with the people that you love. If they can't do that, they don't have a place in your life. Number 5, does this person encourage you freely? Does this person encourage you freely? Because a narcissist is not going to spend much time encouraging you. Now, they may flatter you to get what they want, but they're not going to spend a lot of time sincerely encouraging you. So those are some tests that you can run before diving head first into these relationships. Now let's get into our discussion. And what I want to do is kind of recap some of what I laid down, in my book, The Father-Daughter Talk, when we discussed 3 steps to how the man creates a soul tie with a woman, or how the man manipulates, dominates, or, happens to manage a woman to a point where she loses emotional control and becomes pretty much a puppet to an inferior man. And number 1, we said that he penetrates her defenses with calculated conversation. He knows exactly what to say to her to open her emotionally. He knows exactly what to say to her to open her emotionally. He'll look on the social media if she loves dogs. When he develops a conversation with her, he's gonna love dogs. If she loves children, she loves church, he's gonna love church. But all of this is what? Calculated, because what he's doing is he's positioning the woman into a place of emotional vulnerability through his words, because he knows that women are moved by words. You speak the right words to a woman, she's moved by it. And so I always teach, when a man knows exactly what to say, that's not an indication for you to speed up. It's an indication for you to slow down and to ponder, to pray, to discern. Secondly, we said, number 1, he penetrates her defenses with calculated conversation. Number 2, he becomes the woman's emotional and sexual addiction. He penetrates her through calculated conversation, and then he becomes her emotional and sexual addiction. He overdoses the woman with what? Time, flattery, romance. He ultimately gets the woman to open sexually. He becomes her emotional and sexual addiction. She gets to a point where she feels like she's never had anything like this. Nobody understands her like this. Nobody loves her like this. Nobody's ever given her this amount of attention. And then once he knows that she's hooked, once he knows that she is addicted to his game, he then avoids commitment at all costs. This is where he begins to pull back. And it's like, it's like the drug dealer. He'll give you a taste of it to get you addicted, and then he pulls back, and then what he does, he makes you pay a great price to keep replenishing you. So he penetrates her defenses with calculated conversation. This is how he gets her to let her walls down. He becomes her emotional and sexual addiction by overdosing her on all of the things every woman wants. Say nice things to me. Give me your time. Be patient with me. But it's all an act. And then finally, he pulls back and he avoids commitment at all costs. He'll talk marriage, but he'll be talking marriage many times 10 years later. He'll be talking marriage after 2 or 3 babies that he wouldn't even give his name to. He'll be talking marriage, after you've paid for 2 or 3 cars for him. He's still talking marriage. When he started talking marriage, you were fresh out of college. He's still talking marriage, and you're almost thinking about retirement. because he avoids commitment at all cost. Now, when he avoids commitment, this creates an approval trap for the woman. She's seeking, in other words, to be validated by the man that actually broke her self-esteem. And it's like, you know, since you're the one that broke my self-esteem subconsciously, I need you to approve of me. I need you to validate me for my self-esteem to repair. And you can never go to the person that broke you to fix you. Now, that's the information that I laid down in the Father-Daughter Talk, the book, The Father-Daughter Talk. But now I want to add to that because it goes deeper. Once the man, penetrates your defenses, it gets you to let your guard down through calculated conversation, saying all the right stuff. He becomes your emotional and sexual addiction by overdosing you on whatever it is you desire or need. Then he avoids commitment at all cost, leaving you broken. The Bible talks about hope deferred makes the heart sick. The thing that you desire the most, when it never shows up, what it does is it makes you sick emotionally. You know, a lot of people who are involved in these toxic relationships are even struggling with PTSD. You know, when we think about PTSD, we only think about police officers, firemen, soldiers on the battlefield, but a lot of people who have navigated the waters of narcissistic relationships or toxic relationships are struggling as well with PTSD. I meet them all the time. Now, if the woman does not bite the bullet and cut her ties to the man that is now avoiding commitment, the roots of that soul tie will go or grow even deeper. Now, I'm trying to read my own writing, y'all. This is a task. But that's the impact point. If the woman does not bite the bullet and cut her ties, the roots of that soul tie will go even deeper. There comes a point in time. Now, you know, you can go see the therapist, you can go see the psychologist, you can go see the preacher, you can come to Queenology, you can go to Woman Thou Art Loose, you can go wherever, Joyce Meyer, you can go wherever you want to go. At the end of the day, at some point after you've gotten the information, you are going to have to get up, bite the bullet, and cut ties with the person that has destroyed your life. It's kind of like if this house catches on fire and the fire's coming in through this direction. As you can probably see the light shining from my right, I'm jumping through that window. I'm getting out by any means necessary. And that's the mindset you have to come to. You have to come to the mindset that you are getting out by any means necessary. That the pain of cutting these ties will not compare to the pain of losing my life to someone that never deserved my attention. But now look what happens if you don't cut these ties after this man gets into this cycle of avoiding commitment. What goes on when you stay committed to someone that's not committed to you and are constantly avoiding real commitment to you is that the relationship now moves into deeper dimensions of abuse. Once he wakes up and he realizes that I can avoid commitment and she ain't going nowhere, you know, she's just going to keep telling me about next time, next time, next time. The relationship then dives deeper into the depths of abuse. And abuse, Miles Monroe says, is the abnormal use of a thing. In other words, he will begin to use you as a woman for purposes that God never designed you for. Now, abuse is intended. Why does he dive? And all of this is intentional. Why does he dive deeper into abuse? Abuse is intended to destroy the woman's personal sense of value. If I can destroy your sense of value, I can also modify what you will settle for. See, if you have a high sense of value, you're not going to give your body to a man that's not your husband necessarily. You're not going to allow a man to put his hands on you and you say, next time if you do it again. But the more I decrease your value, your own sense of value, I can purchase you for a cheaper and cheaper and cheaper price, and your price continues to drop. The more I abuse you, the more your price drops. What you started off saying, this is what it takes to get me. Now you've allowed me to abuse you because I put you in that trap, and you got this soul tie now. Your price is constantly dropping to a point that I'll eventually get you for nothing. Now, let's see. Colossians 3:19 says, husbands, love your wives and be not bitter against them. There's a reason the Bible says that. It's because a man will manipulate a woman emotionally by being emotionally abusive. Because in the heart of a woman, especially when she has had children, when she's invested her heart, all she wants is for her family to work. She wants her husband to be happy so that they can have a successful family. A man that is a narcissist will take occasion to use that woman's desires and abuse her emotionally through bitterness and anger to manipulate her sense of value. And the Bible says in Psalm 103:6, the Lord executes judgment for the oppressed. And that's what's going on when you're being abused. You're being oppressed. Your true essence and your true form that God created you for is being modified to a lesser degree. You're being squeezed into a lesser version of yourself. Now, people abuse when they feel worthless themselves and recognize the value of those they abuse. People abuse when they feel worthless and recognize the value of those they abuse. But those they abuse don't recognize the value in themselves. And so an inferior, this is how, as I said in the father-daughter talk, a PhD of a woman can be manipulated by a GED of a man. Because, okay, number two, this is actually, we started off with the points I laid out in father-daughter talk, is how the man takes control of a woman's mind. He penetrates her defenses through calculated conversation. He becomes the woman's emotional and sexual addiction through just overdosing her on flattery and whatever else. He then avoids commitment to the woman. And if the woman does not cut ties with the man that avoids commitment, it brings us to actually number 4, where the man begins to go deeper in terms of his abuse of the woman. That can be verbal, emotional, physical. He goes deeper into his abuse of the woman. Number 5, humiliation. So it goes to abuse, then it goes to humiliation. And these may not necessarily be sequential relative to 4 through 6. You may be able to, this is just the order I wrote them in. But it goes to abuse, it goes then to humiliation. And what is humiliation? Humiliation is where one makes another feel ashamed and foolish by injuring their dignity, especially publicly. He'll abuse you and then he'll begin to humiliate you. He will make you feel foolish or ashamed, injuring your dignity, especially publicly. This is when it gets to a point where he's developed such a lack of respect for you that he'll go all on social media with his outside women. He'll put pictures of himself all on social media. And then he'll come home to you and you'll fuss and he'll go to sleep. And you'll tell him if you do it again, he'll go back out the next weekend. He'll do it again. He's humiliating you. He will talk to you. And of course, this goes both ways. Women do this to men as well. But I'm talking to sisters right now. Humiliation shatters the woman's personal standards. It's because when a man humiliates you, what it does is it makes you question, am I overestimating myself? You find yourself saying stuff like, I deserve it. I deserve it. I wasn't good. I didn't do right. I deserve. What's going on there is that your soul is broken. You have a broken consciousness at that point, and he'll take advantage of that, and he will humiliate you publicly, and he'll use in most cases words. He'll embarrass you in front of your family. He'll embarrass you at church, call you out of your name, all in the public, and it's going deeper and deeper and deeper, and it's slave conditioning, and you'll continue to hang around for that kind of treatment. And the Bible says in Proverbs 12:18, rash words are like sword thrusts. It said that sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Words can create injuries that will last a lifetime, that the soul will spend a lifetime trying to recover from. Again, trying to read my own writing. Proverbs 15:4, a perverse tongue breaks the spirit. So he uses humiliation and words to intentionally do what? Break your spirit. And then watch this. Watch this. Watch this. Here's number 6. Number 1, he penetrates your defenses, causes you to let your walls down through calculated conversation. Number 2, he becomes your emotional and sexual addiction. He overdoses you on everything you want to hear and see. Number 3, once he gets you addicted, he avoids commitment. If you don't cut him off when he avoids that commitment, he then brings it deeper. He begins to abuse you on a different level. He then moves it deeper. He begins to humiliate you. He robs you of your dignity publicly. It's not only behind closed doors, now it's publicly. And then watch this, number 6, abandonment. Now, what abandonment does is abandonment destroys your sense of security and confidence. And what abandonment is intended to do is to create a codependency, where you really feel like you can't live without him. He's already codependent to you because he's using you for something he needs or desires strongly. But now he creates, through abandonment, he creates a codependent spirit in you that you feel like you make statements like, I can't live without him. And some of you have written me and said that I can't live without him. And my question to you is, what is it about him that you can't live without? And most of you don't even know how to respond back to that when I ask you that question, because in your logical mind, there's nothing that this person brings into your life that is positive, fruitful, and necessary. But your spirit has been broken and you've been slave conditioned. And so now he abandons you. He acts like he's walking away from you. He doesn't want you anymore. And then the way the game goes is he abandons you. You beg. You beg, you call, you drive, and you come around wherever he's at, and you get on your knees and you beg for him to let you back into his life and to come back home. You beg for it. And the moment he gets you to the place where you're begging for the abuse, he then knows that he has you in a slave position, possibly for life. Now, and I'm done, but let me say this to you. I do a lot of teaching. I talk a lot about these issues. And a lot of times people want to know, it's almost like you want a step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to getting, a certain kind of person out of your life. And I suppose that there are steps that we can take. that I could actually share with you. But when we get through talking about steps, at the end of the day, you have to come to a place where you really step outside of this situation and you look back at it and you call it what it is. Remove the aliases and call this thing exactly what it is. Abuse and manipulation. And you accept that. And then your mind is going to say, oh, well, you've invested so much time. Forget about the time that you've invested. Think about the time that you have in front of you. And now you have to ask yourself, am I willing to give up the rest of my life for this? Or will I make the rest of my life the best of my life? And then you have to make up in your mind that I am going to deal with the pain of rehabbing my soul. I'm going to break this soul tie. And I'm going to do whatever is necessary to get myself to a place where I'm whole and sound in my mind. Now, for me, the only power that I know that can truly break and destroy these kinds of bondages is the power of God. The power of God. But even the power of God is null and void until you come to a place where you make a choice and you make a decision. You say, this is not what I desire. This is not what I was born for. I'm more than this. And when you come to that place and then you invite the power of God to come into your situation, God has a unique way of taking the heart and mending and fixing the heart and giving you the courage and the boldness to step up into things that you otherwise would have never been strong enough, big enough, large enough for. My prayer is for you to be free. That's really the whole purpose behind my Queenology movement, is that I want to see a generation of women free in your own minds to actually be whole and healthy enough to be great wives, to be great, CEOs, entrepreneurs. If you desire to be single, be great as an individual, as a single, but be free, because so many women are broken by things like the things I've discussed today. So I want to pray for you. I got to go. I want to pray for you. Father, I thank you for this time and this message. And now I ask you, dear God, to cause it to resonate and let it open the eyes of those that will hear it. And God, allow them to hear these last few words that I've spoken to them through spiritual ears, so that they might discern, dear God, what you're saying to them. And God, I thank you for freedom. Anything and anyone, dear God, that is not ordained to be in their lives, God, we dismiss these people, these spirits, from the lives of your children. And I command freedom and peace and wholeness and soundness of mind to rest upon them today. In the mighty name of Jesus Christ. I've enjoyed this time with you. I've truly enjoyed this time with you. I just wanted to share this. If this is your kind of thing, I'd love for you to subscribe. I'd love for you to share this on your social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, so forth and so on. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. The more you do that, the more people I get a chance to reach. I'm just excited about being able to minister to you. Hey, visit my website, rcblakes.com. Go to Amazon, pick up my books. If you desire workbooks, all of my workbooks are at my own website store, rcblakes.store.com, I think it is. You can get there by way of rcblakes.com. And just know I love you, and I appreciate you, and I thank God for you. Remember this, you are on top and you're going higher. God has more in store for you. Until next time, God bless you. That I have not had a father in my developmental process, I can still come to a place of victory in my personal development.
ultimately, it is really not about who rejected you. It is truly about who accepts you.
I had to provide for myself, which is a father's job, right? Mm-hmm. I had to take care of my younger sibling, which was my father's job,
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
You will discover that you will find within yourself the power to see yourself in the way that only you and God can see.
So she sent me a video while I was at work, and unfortunately, forgive me, didn't have time to watch it. And I watched a snippet of it, and I was like, oh, he's talking directly to me. I'm like, okay. So then a couple weeks later, she sends me another video. I'm like, okay, so what's the agenda? Like, what are we doing? So she's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna send you this video. And so I watched it, and it was about, at one point, you had said something like, when you're single and dating, you know, you probably shouldn't do this. And I'm like, I just did that the other day. I'm like, okay. So I text her back and I'm like, it's a conspiracy. You know, this is some drug.